and one of the main complaints with women is that it's making them look much older.
And I wanted to talk about the fat in the face part too. That's very common with fasting. People who are on super low calorie diets or who do too much fasting, they will often lose facial fat. And facial fat is one of the main ways that you stay looking young, right? So one of the dangers of prolonged fasting or too low calorie diets, which is what can happen on these super high doses of these milligram doses of semaglutide, you end up with a lot of days where you're either not eating or you're eating just not nearly enough. So certainly not enough protein.
Yeah,
Um,
so the dose is quite high with the conventional approach and the injection, the once a week injection protocols. Could you outline what the standard dosing looks like just to have a comparison?
sure. Yeah, we're looking at milligrams for the injection, micrograms for the sublingual, literally 100 times less for the sublingual, but we'll get into that in a second. The standard protocol for Wegovy, which is semaglutide for weight loss, is an escalation to reach this high dose of 2.4 milligrams a week. So usually they're going to start out at 0.25 milligrams a week for about a month. And that's the starter dose. And then you increase to zero point 0.5 milligrams a week, and then 1 milligram, 1.7, and then finally 2.4. So each time you increase, you stay on it for a few weeks to acclimate, but the goal is to try to ratchet you up to 2.4 as quickly as possible or as close as you can get and still tolerate it. And only reason why they do it over time is to try to reduce the nausea that a lot of people experience, if not most people experience. When we use it for diabetics, the target dose is typically maximum, historically, has been 1 milligram a week, although there's now a 2 milligram version that's come out. But essentially, we start with the weekly dose and titrate up. And yeah, that's the approach that it's the same approach, but I would say that which we with the weight loss we get to that higher dose a lot faster because that's what's often going to get this dramatic result, which is exciting to people, and I get that, but it's like often unhealthy and often
Yeah,
a lot of additional side effects.
that's a huge range from 0.25 milligrams to 2 milligrams or more per week. Even at the starting dose, that's 50 or 5 to 10 times higher than the microdoses that we're going to be offering.
So even at the 0.25, we will be starting people off really at zero point zero 0.05. So that's, I think, that's 50 micrograms. Or
Okay.
no, maybe even lower than that, actually.
Bet- Between
There's a lot of flexibility.
between 5 to 50
Yeah.
micrograms in a
Yeah.
microdosing regimen. That's a
That's typically where we're going is much, much lower.
okay. That's a massive difference in quantity. Just want to say.
Yeah, we're looking at much, much higher doses. And I think that's part of the problem. It's one of the reasons why people max out. It's why you get this rapid weight loss, but then now what? Are you going to stay on it to maintain that? Is that really sustainable? Can you afford that? So there's a lot of elements to it that frankly don't work. And I think to me, the same issue we have with ivermectin. We do ivermectin for cancer, and I had a patient that just totally ignored what I told him to do and ratcheted up his ivermectin to 120 milligrams a day. And now he can't take ivermectin. He can take 12 milligrams, but he overshot the therapeutic window, saturated his tissues, and now he can't take it. So I think the same thing happens with these medications, where it's basically like your body develops a tolerance to such a high dose. And then you either have to stay on that high dose or you have to maintain the weight loss or you start gaining weight again,
Okay,
you
so
know?
the moral of that story is don't do so many people are doing this on their own, unsupervised, no guidance with somebody that cares.